drunk and scolded the president, and became famous. The next day, the president's mother found me. 10 million. Scold my son's love brain. Okay, guaranteed scolding in place. I didn't hesitate to take the errand, and taking a slow step was my disrespect for money. Later, when the president insisted on pulling me to fall in love, I yelled, "Get out! Don't you want me to earn your mother's 10 million? Our boss is a fool. Everyone agrees to be really stupid. I don't do anything every day, but because the performance of one of our subsidiaries does not exceed the level of the head office, the Forster Group scolded us and devalued us. Everyone dares to be angry and dare not speak. After all, working under the hands of people, you have to look at people's faces. Even if the boss is a fool, we have to endure it, and only dare to scold a few words when we have dinner after work." Then as soon as I got emotional, I drank too much. If you drink too much, it's a bad thing. By the time I woke up in a daze, my website had been bombarded with messages. Someone asked me if I had taken the wrong medicine. I was reminded that I was in the wrong place. Some people laughed and praised me for my bravery, and dared to reprimand the boss in public. I was confused and followed my colleague's reminder to open the work group. Then I woke up instantly. Inside, more than a dozen 60-second voices I sent hung brightly on it. I shook my little finger and clicked on one of them, and I heard my pig-killing roar inside. "I've never seen a stupid person like you. I've never heard of hypoxia. I've never seen a brainless. Did your brain be thrown away as a placenta when you were born?" I turned off the voice in silence and lay back with a blank face. It's all a dream. It's all a dream. It's all a dream. I frantically brainwashed myself, praying that I would quickly fall asleep. And then as soon as I woke up, the dozen or so 60-second voices disappeared. After a while, there was another message chime in my ears. I quickly picked up my phone and opened Weshit, and there was one more message in 60 seconds. The pure black avatar was followed by a cold sentence. "You were fired." Boom. My rent, my utilities, my rations. I didn't give up and covered my head again, hoping it was all fake, until the eldest sister called me. "That, Louise Bobby, come to the office today to pack your things. Ron Service says he doesn't want to see you anymore." Hey, brave boy, you're a great man, and you're sure you'll get a better job. Because everyone wanted to scold Ron Service for being stupid, but I was the only one who really scolded me, and I scolded so badly that it was a help for them. So my colleagues expressed regret for my departure. It is said that, when people encounter their lowest period, their fate will usher in a huge turnaround. Although this matter is not as serious as the lowest point, I have ushered in the biggest turning point in my life after this incident. Ron Service came over and said to give me 10 million and let me scold her love-brained son. That's when I realized why our stupid boss was going crazy and comparing us to the Forster Group. Because this stupid girl was pried into the corner by Howard Forster, the heir of the Forster family. However, according to the detective's investigation, his white moonlight's first love, Adelaide Violet, approached him to cling to the powerful, and when her mother found out, she wanted to break up the two. The little master will definitely make a fuss. So, she pretended to revoke the identity of the little young master's heir to the Service family group. Sure enough, Adelaide Violet immediately reversed course and went to join Howard Forster, the heir to the Forster family. The two are currently engaged, but the silly young master firmly believes that Adelaide Violet and Howard Forster are forced to marry because they are helpless, and she and herself are true love. He was scolded by his family when he expressed his views with his family, and he was angry and did not go home, and he has been living outside for a week. I don't know what I did unintentionally to make God favor me so much, but it's clear that this is a big pie that fell from the sky, enough for me to eat and drink for the rest of my life. I've got to catch it. So I took it right away. I can't wait to kneel down on the spot and kowtow to the Queen Mother twice. It's a pity that the Queen Mother won't let it. What a good Queen Mother. The turn of events happened very suddenly. How sudden! Yesterday my colleagues were still looking at me sympathetically because of my departure. Today, I followed the Queen Mother, swaggering past their eyes, and went to scold the stupid boss in a bright light. Ron Service was surprised to see me, and his mom show up at the same time. "Louise Bobby, you scold me first. Do you still have the face to sue your parents?" I saw the Queen Mother in front of me holding her forehead, And even the back was full of words that I didn't want to admit that this stupid girl was born to her. I took the initiative to find Louise Bobby. Ron Service was even more shocked. Mom, you're also in the group. Didn't you hear how dirty she scolded me yesterday? The Queen Mother sat down on the leather sofa in Ron Service's office and said indifferently, I heard it. What else are you looking for her to do? Find her and scold you? Ron Service was startled, and the expression on his face seemed to be shattered. Mom, what did you say? I listened carefully to Louise Bobby's speech yesterday, and I think it's very good. It just so happens that you have recently had a love brain and lost your mind. So I asked her to scold you to see if I could scold you soberly. I smiled and said to the incredulous Ron Service, Ron Service, please advise me next. Ron Service stared at those big clear and stupid eyes, and looked back and forth between me and the Queen Mother. And when he saw that the Queen Mother was serious, he exploded instantly. I don't need to. You tell her to. The Queen Mother slammed the teacup on the coffee table and said coldly, you have to ask for it, if you don't want it. I'd like to see if the memories of you and your innocent by moonlight can carry Louise Bobby's mouth. I immediately stepped forward and said, Louise Bobby will not fail your trust. Hearing this, the Queen Mother nodded at me. On the other side, Ron Service blew up even harder. What do you mean by not having a heart? Jiao Yue couldn't be more sincere to me. You have no idea how good she is to me. The Queen Mother was angry and said, if she really likes you, will she marry someone else? I chimed in, when the weasel gave the chicken 2 weeds for the new year, he was telling the truth. I pinched my throat and said, Miss Chicken, I really don't want to eat you. I really want to give you New Year's greetings. Ron Service was stunned, and the Queen Mother turned her head and nodded at me. That's a good point. I bowed flatteringly and said, you have won the prize. Coming back to his senses, Ron Service scolded, you know, she and Howard Forster were forced to marry. The Queen Mother was so angry that she ignored him and glanced at me, and I immediately understood. Yes, she was forced to marry the future heir of the Forster family group. She was forced to make an official announcement on the internet. She was forced to reply to the messages that blessed her and Howard Forster one by one. She was forced to try on a wedding dress with Howard Forster with a smile on her face. She was forced to show her affection on Weibo 8 times a day. Ron Service looked like he was trying to rip my mouth out. Shut up. I also switched to irritation mode. Why should I shut up? Just because you're stupid. You're stupid. You've been sold and you still have no affection for people. Let me ask you, how much worse does your Ron Service look like that Howard Forster? Who is more big, you Service family or the Forster family? Howard Forster is not as tall as you, not as handsome as you, and not as rich as you. So why did Adelaide Violet choose him and not you? Don't tell everyone that she was forced. With the power of the Servicer, can't you still save your beloved woman from Howard Forster? That's because she won't let it. She doesn't need to. That's because you're so liar. Marrying Howard Forster can still hang you as a spare tire for her. Marry you. Howard Forster is not so brainless as a junior. Ron Service was so angry that his face turned blue and black and red. I continued, everyone else is in there. You can't put it down here. So what are you going to do? Are you going to wait 18 years to send your rival's sons and daughters to college? The Queen Mother clapped my hand. I didn't pay attention, and continued, don't be famous, don't be human, move the heavens and the earth to love God, and when the old moon comes, I cry. Chiao, when Bout saw it, he couldn't wait to refine you into sacrificial arrows. The Queen Mother signaled again that I was enough. I was still moving. If you go into Plants vs. Zombies, the background will have to turn into a pink bubble. In the end, the Queen Mother reluctantly got up and stopped between me and Ron Service, who was about to cry. All right, Louise Bobby, I know you can say that today is enough. I immediately shut up and smiled professionally. It's my pleasure to serve you and satisfy you. In the end, the Queen Mother left Ron Service with a sentence of, think about it yourself, and left with me. I guess she was afraid that her son would really be scolded and cry by me, which would be too embarrassing. After all, when we left, the handsome president of the Love Brain was already about to bring the rain. I'm cool, has money and can be angry, And you can also see the unknown side of the beautiful little master of the service family. So when I came out of the office, my face almost turned into a chrysanthemum with a smile. When I went out, I first respectfully sent the Queen Mother to the bus like a eunuch in the Jingshifang, and then ran to the bus stop to take the bus by myself. No way, although this job was accepted, but I really don't know if I have the ability to put on service like this. The stupid boy who has 3 views formed for many years, but has a bad brain, wakes up. So until the money arrives, I'm still going to save a little. In the evening, the Queen Mother sent me a message saying that I had scolded well, and that Ron Service had gone home in the evening. Then he sent me a reward red envelope, 50,000. I knelt on the bed directly and knocked one at the Queen Mother dialogue box, and replied, "You're too polite. This is what I should do." Then he accepted the red envelope without hesitation. Queen Mother, I'll observe it in the past 2 days, and I'll contact you if necessary. Me, the little ones are always on standby. My chat with the Queen Mother ended. I thought I had scolded a lot yesterday, and was expected to be able to rest for a day or 2. But the next morning, I had a guest in my rental house. It's Ron Service. I thought he was here for revenge, and he was ready to fight. But he said, I thought about it carefully. What you said yesterday was quite reasonable, but I still can't forget her. What should I do? I'm waiting for him to punch. Heh. Half an hour later, I finally figured out the true purpose of the young master's visit. He admits that he knows that he and Adelaide Violet are no longer possible, but there are so many fond memories between them that every time he thinks about it, he feels painful. It hurts, he said. When I heard that, I threw a fruit knife at him. Then end the suffering at the root. Ron Service looked at me in disbelief. Then he thought that he had said the words by himself, so he quickly changed to a firm look, and for the sake of his own face, he took a fruit knife and drew twice on his wrist. I remind you in due course, you can't die by cutting your wrists once, because the blood will clot, so you have to cut back and forth several times, and in the process, you will have a dizzy brain, a cold body, and a poor breathing due to insufficient blood supply. All in all, very painful. But these pains of yours, both psychological and physical, Adelaide Violet will not know. She will only regret that she has one spare tire missing, and then live happily with Howard Forster, who will also live a very happy life, because of the lack of a person who covets her wife. Only you know all your pain, and only you can bear all your grievances and sorrows. Don't talk about it. Ron Service's eyes were red, as if he had been bullied. As soon as he let go of his hand, the dagger clattered to the ground, and then he held his head in pain. This was the effect he wanted to deduce. However, the reality is that this stupid man scratched his wrist when the dagger fell because of the wrong timing of the looseness. The skin here is delicate and sensitive, and the slightest pain will be infinitely magnified, not to mention the various outrageous rumors of suicide by cutting his wrists, which are closely linked to death, and the pain will be magnified again because of fear one. Therefore, the real result is that the stupid young master screamed because of a small cut in his wrist, and held up the wound that didn't even bleed, and asked me to call him 12 quickly. 5 minutes later, the little young master with a band-aid on his wrist began to fall silent. I didn't pay attention to him, and sat on the stool with Erlang's legs on his legs to play games. Seeing that I had been ignoring him, the little master endured it for half an hour, and finally couldn't help it, coughed lightly twice, and planned to take the initiative to break the embarrassment. Wait. I looked at my phone seriously and said, this game is going to be won. The little master is estimated to have been snubbed because of the game. His face is blue and red, and he is about to have a seizure, when the game soundtrack of victory comes from my mobile phone. Yes. I clenched my fists and cheered myself on. Then he turned his head to look at the little young master. What are you going to say? The little young master's face changed, and finally took a deep breath and regained his composure. I know what you say, but I just can't forget those good memories of the past. Every time I think of me. The little young master glanced at the fruit knife, coughed lightly, and said, I will feel unwilling. Obviously it was once so beautiful. Why would she give up everything and be with others? I got up. The young master leaned back vigilantly and said, what are you going to do? Tell me, what are the good memories? An hour later, the young master and I appeared at the corner of a pedestrian street. When we were together before, we used to go shopping here, and all our worries were left behind, and we were carefree and free. As he spoke, we walked down the street, and I didn't interrupt him, and I listened to him babble about them playing hide and seek under this tree, taking pictures in that shop, and playing tricks on the owner of this shop. But after walking back and forth on this street twice, the little young master had nothing to say. When I saw that he had shut up, I said, "Go on." The little young master opened his mouth, because he was really embarrassed to say that there was such a little memory between him and his unforgettable Bai Yuguang. So he began to frown, carefully searching for other details from his memory. After 2 more walks, he was completely speechless. I prompt, "You can relive the memories, so." I accompanied the little young master back and forth on that pedestrian street more than 30 times, and almost cried when I walked to the little young master. "I'm not leaving, don't go, I never want to see this street again." I grabbed him hard. "Is the relationship between you and Adelaide Violet so fragile? It's only been a few times, and you've had enough of it. What about your love-brain spirit? Just because Adelaide Violet doesn't know your memories of her and the sore soles of your feet, you can't suffer." My last sentence instantly hit the little master's fragile heart. All he has is just to show his affection, but if these affections cannot be known by the person concerned, then everything is in vain, even if he himself does not want to admit it. But it doesn't matter, if you suffer a little more, you will be willing to admit it. Then I pulled the little young master to help him recall the simple and beautiful in the past, and at the same time pulled him to loop on the pedestrian street for the 79th time. At this time the sky was almost bright, and the little young master, who was thirsty and hungry, and his feet were sore, finally let out a sad cry. I was wrong. I was really wrong. No, I let go. I really let go. I don't want to remember these things anymore. Please let me go. I let go of the little master's arm with satisfaction, and the first thing he did after being let go was to hurriedly find a bench to sit down and rest. Then he glared at me and said, "Louise Bobby, you can do it." I threw my hand at him. "You've won a prize." The little young master rolled his eyes angrily, called the driver and picked himself up. I politely smiled at the little young master, beckoned goodbye, and then waited for the little master to leave, and told the Queen Mother about today's events. And the Queen Mother said that I had done a good job, and sent me a red envelope of 50,000 yuan as a reward. I happily rubbed my hands together, happily took a taxi, and ordered a lavish takeaway for $50. The little master is probably scared. Last time, there was no movement for a week. The Queen Mother told me that she had tried, and now the young master almost vomited when he heard that pedestrian street and the name of Adelaide Violet appear at the same time. Then the satisfied Queen Mother sent me another 10,000 red envelopes as a reward. Such a Queen Mother, who is good to serve and scatter wealth. Please come more in the future. I was counting my balance when there was another knock on the door. It's still a little master. His face was not very good looking, and when he came up, he first asked, "I asked you to help, not for you to torture me. If you still use the previous extreme measures, I will let my mother find someone else." I gritted my teeth and said, "Sue the scumbag of the parents. Ron Service is right. That's my family's money." I took a deep breath, suppressed the unhappiness in my heart, replaced it with a flattering smile, and said, "Young master, do you have any doubts that you want to solve today?" Half an hour later, Ron Service and I arrived at a bar. At this point, the bar is already lively. The little master sat in front of the bar, looking at the wine glass in front of him and losing his mind. "You know what? It was here that I first met Akazuki." I shook my head with the wine. "I don't know. If you don't know, shut up." The little master was very angry at being interrupted by me, and after venting a sentence, he immersed himself in his memories again and retold them. "Although I am a member of the Service family, I have been served since I was born, and with the assets of the Service family, I can eat and drink without worrying about doing anything for the rest of my life." I couldn't resist interrupting him again. "Let you say that your problem is not Versailles," the little young master exclaimed angrily. "Can you listen to me?" In fact, he could just throw his hands and leave, but he still poured himself a glass of cold wine and continued, "But I'm not having an easy time." Hiccup. The little young master burped. His whole face turned red, and his eyes began to blur. But I didn't have an easy time, because I am the only child of my parents, and the only heir of the service family in the future. Everyone forces me to work hard. Everyone forces me to grow. I feel like a tight string, so tired and tired every day. Eat elegantly, speak politely, be emotionally stable, and have a strong personality. As he spoke, Ron Service raised his head and drank the wine from his glass. He calmed down a little. He continued, but Autumn Moon is different. She told me that I can be a little more vulnerable. I can be a little more relaxed. I can be a little worse. I continued. And then you took it seriously. You quarreled with your parents. You messed everything up. You lost your position as the heir to the service family. And you were abandoned by this guy, who said you could be worse. Yes, it turned out to be a white porridge brother. Ron Service leaned on the bar and cried. I sighed, patted him on the shoulder, and didn't want to say anything for a moment. Rao is not very emotionally intelligent, but I also know that everyone's life environment is different, life experience is different, and life creed is also different. Whether it's a love brain or a sober brain, the essence is to hope for happiness, and there is no difference between high and low, right or wrong. The reason why he scolded him was for two reasons. He scolded me, and 10 million. But now it's clearly not time to scold. Why? Why did she abandon me? Obviously she said it. Even if I'm a terrible person, it doesn't matter. She promised to always be there for me. Why? The little master burst into tears. I watched him cry while drinking fruit wine. At this time, several sturdy men passed by. One of them glanced at Ron Service contemptuously and mocked. It's useless for a big man to cry like this. Ron Service's shoulders shook slightly. I threw the glass in my hand to the man's feet. It's just you. The man was enraged by my behavior, and was about to teach me a lesson, but was stopped by the man in front of him, who spoke in a questioning tone. Ron Service. Ron Service tried to look up, but I quietly pushed his head down. I looked at the man, and in an unkind tone, said, I recognize the wrong person. It's okay to get out of here. The man chuckled and reached out to pull Ron Service, but I opened his hand and said, can't you understand people? The man's attendant in the back shouted angrily, okay, you little slut who has no eyesight. Do you know who the person in front of you is? I don't care who you are. I scolded my friend and didn't beat you up, did he? Seeing that I was about to fight with my attendant, the man hurriedly stopped me, politely apologized to me, and took the people to leave. Because I took the little master of the service family, I didn't want to make a big fuss, so I let a few people go. But I didn't expect the cheap man to take advantage of my unpreparedness, and suddenly stretched out his hand to Ron Service. Ron Service was caught off guard and was dragged up, but fortunately I was quick, and put my coat on Ron Service's head. You're looking for death. I was so annoyed that it was a punch in the face of that cheap man. The man was hit by me, and staggered back 2 steps. Then we fought. I beat the man who had been abusing me since I was in the 2nd year of junior high school. And now, although there are 5 or 6 people on the other side, I still haven't fallen behind, because I don't want to die. Ron Service tried to lift his coat to help me several times in the middle, but I pointed at his nose and scolded, how dare you show your face? I'll smash you together. Then Ron Service slammed his head back on. Soon, the police took a group of us to the police station. The man didn't want to let Ron Service go, and I replied, you, Howard Forster, now you know the shame of the person who started pulling the back. I'm telling you, there's surveillance. You don't bring innocence in. Howard Forster turned blue with anger at me, but not only did Ron Service not make a move, but he didn't even show his face, so he could only be taken away by the police with me, waiting to be released on bail. Being taken away by the police in a fight with someone in a bar doesn't matter to me. After all, there are too many times. But for Howard Forster, it's a shame. The silly young master didn't disappoint, and quickly changed into a neat suit, and appeared at the police station to bail me out. This time, he should have found a stylist to dress himself up carefully, with an indifferent expression, and the little young master, who was wearing white jeans, with loose hair, and crying on the bar, was like 2 people. It is also in stark contrast to the somewhat embarrassed Howard Forster. Howard Forster looked at him, his teeth itching with anger. Ron Service, What are you pretending? No matter how much you pretend, it's just a kind of crying behind a woman's back. I sneered. Where's the evidence? Howard Forster glared at me coldly and said, don't forget that the bar is monitored. Oh, I remember. My friend was wearing a mask when he walked in the door, and the place where he was drinking was a surveillance corner. Howard Forster's eyes widened as if he were going to bite me to death. I didn't think it was a big deal, and continued to laugh and said, Howard Forster is different. There are a lot of high-definition mobile phones to take pictures of this game. By the end of the day, Ron Service had already finished talking to the police. I got up and raised an eyebrow at the grim-faced Howard Forster. We're here to pick us up, so we're not going to stay with Howard Forster at the police station. Goodbye, fellow. After I finished speaking, I happily followed the overlord version of Ron Service with Howard Forster's murderous eyes behind my back. Just as I got to the door, a red figure rushed in and almost rushed into Ron Service's arms, and Ron Service and I reacted quickly to get out of the way of the door sideways. Howard Forster, sorry I'm late. I couldn't help but say I was forced to bail someone out. The woman picked up the mockery in my tone, and frowned and turned her head to look at Ron Service, her eyes meeting the nonchalant Ron Service. The woman was surprised. Ron Service looked indifferent and turned to leave. The woman was so anxious that she almost forgot about Howard Forster, and it was Howard Forster who reminded her in the back to call her back. I happily followed Ron Service into the car, and seeing his calm face, I took the initiative to ask, aren't you happy to see your sweetheart again? He was silent. Because there is a driver in front, I can't reveal the little master's bottom, so I shut up. Then, under the influence of alcohol and exhaustion, he gradually fell asleep. In a daze, I felt someone hugging me. I woke up for a moment, and found that it was the little master, who wanted to carry me out of the car. Arrived. I was so sleepy that I didn't resist, and I took advantage of being served directly on the bed anyway. When the young master carried me upstairs, my head hit his chest. I vaguely complimented, good practice. Do you like it? I scratched it twice, mumbled twice, and then fell asleep again. The next day, because of drinking at night, my head hurt a little, and what made me even more headache was to turn my head to the big face of the little young master. I kicked him down in fright, and the little master snorted and fell under the bed. He opened his eyes in a daze, looked at me with a sad expression, and said, what are you doing? I almost blew up. What am I doing? Do you still have the face to ask me what I am doing? What the hell did you do last night? Why is it in my bed? As I spoke, I hurriedly checked my clothes, which were still the same as they were yesterday, and only took off my coat, shoes and socks. Look at the little master again, also wearing a shirt and trousers. I breathed a sigh of relief. The little young master was aggrieved. Obviously. You grabbed my arm last night and didn't let go. I vaguely had a memory, as if I did catch something in my sleep, and it felt good, and then I didn't want to let go. Seeing that I didn't refute, the little master laughed again. You still praise me for my good muscles. I rolled my eyes, ignored him, got up and went to wash. He followed, and I fetched him a clean toothbrush. I washed up first, changed my clothes, and started making instant noodles for breakfast. The little master's clothes have also been tidied up, although there are still slight folds, but it is no problem to go out. Don't eat this. I'll take you to breakfast. No, you can pack up and leave. You're going to drive me away. The little young master was a little aggrieved. I don't know why, or else, imprisoning you here. The little master didn't leave. He kept following my buttocks. I went to the kitchen to pour hot water. He followed him to the kitchen. I went to the living room to watch TV. He followed to the living room, and then sat next to me, and looked at me. Seeing that I still ignored him, he finally couldn't help but take the initiative to speak. Isn't there anything you want to ask me? I was stunned. Yes. The little master's eyes lit up. What? When is your mom going to pay me? The young master was dissatisfied and said, you only care about this? I asked rhetorically, or else. I was just about to roll my eyes, when the little master suddenly went crazy, grabbed my hand and pressed it to his chest. I was so scared that I almost knocked over the instant noodles. What are you mad about? The young master pressed my hand forcefully and said seriously, Louise Bobby, I like you. Stay with me, I'll give you a lot of 10 million. Hearing this, I didn't even have the intention of taking the opportunity to rub the oil, so I pulled out my hand vigorously and scolded angrily. You like a fart, you just don't want me to earn your mother's 10 million. Phew, you scheming man, ruthless and unrighteous capitalists. When you run out, you want to pay the bill, right? I was so angry that I wanted to hit the dog on the spot, but he stepped forward again, grabbed my hand, and said, I'm serious, I really like you. I almost laughed at this neurotic speech. You're sick. Come on, tell me what you like about me. Like me to scold you 300 times a day, or do you like me to kick you when I'm crazy? No, big brother shakes M. The little young master's face was flushed. Not really, I like you because you protected me before. You're farting, your bodyguards protect you every day, and I don't see how much you like it. The little young master blushed, and said with a rough neck, can that be the same? What's different? You're a woman, they're all men. Yo, you have to be glad that they are all men, or if you love 800 a day, can you love them? The little master was so angry that he was about to cry. I just like you. I sighed helplessly. Okay, give me a reason. The little master has nothing to say. In the end, the little young master dropped a sentence with red eyes. I'll prove it to you. I'm leaving. When I heard this, how could I let him go? And hurriedly grabbed him. He was overjoyed, and then became arrogant again. What's wrong? Would you like to believe it? I was really speechless by this little young master. I even began to worry nosy about the future direction of the service group. I sighed, didn't talk to the little master anymore, and explained to him seriously, can you stop fooling me? Your mother is asking me to wake up your love brain, not to let me seduce you. If your mother knows that you used your love brain on me, do you think I can get better? The little young master nodded. Yes, haven't you been in contact with my mother? She's a very nice person. I almost couldn't hold back a slap on his head. The Queen Mother is good to me, but this is based on the condition that I am her person. The young master refuted my thoughts. You believe me, my mother is really a very good person. If you don't have bad intentions, then it seems that the road of Queen Mother will not work. I interrupted him with a cold face. Why should I believe you? The little young master was stunned, and then a little annoyed, and said, you have so much contact with me. Do you still believe me? I don't believe anyone but myself. The little young master's eyes were lost and puzzled. And how do you know I don't have bad intentions? The little young master was stunned. To be honest, Adelaide Violet and I are actually just one kind of person. We are both strong. We both love ourselves. But the way we get what we want is different. She thinks that she can use her charm to pinch people into her hands and get money and power. I don't believe in anyone. I just hold the money and power in my own hands. You said you gave me money. Sorry, I don't want it, because it's what you like me for. What if you don't like it? With the strength of your service family, you can just let me get out of nowhere. The young master interrupted in disbelief and said, that's how you think of me. Don't put on such a hurt look. Didn't you love Adelaide Violet to death before? And now it's only been a few days, and you're empathetic? The little young master opened his mouth, but he didn't say anything. Finally turned around and left. Before he closes the door, I remind him, remember to ask your mom to pay for it, and then we don't owe each other. I was answered by the sound of the door closing. After that conversation, the young master was silent for a long time. In the middle, the Queen Mother called me to praise me for doing a good job, and gave me $7 million. Saying that the remaining 3 million would wait for Adelaide Violet to get married, and see the reaction of the little master. I was overjoyed to receive the pie, and said good things to the Queen Mother, again and again, and then secretly said that I would come to me for this kind of work in the future. The Queen Mother agreed again and again. Because of this incident, I got a lot closer to the Queen Mother, and she asked me what I plan for the future. I told her the truth. I want to try my hand at entrepreneurship. The Queen Mother was quite supportive of me and told me that if I needed anything, I could talk to her and help me introduce me to contacts. Of course, that's what I'm here to be. I'm the same person as Adelaide Violet, who has always been ruthless in choosing what is better for her, and she ditched Ron's service in favor of Howard Forster. who may have a more successful career in the future. I didn't even look at the little master, and directly chose the Queen Mother, who could help me more. In fact, I sometimes admire the little master's courage to be brave and passionate, and to like and love someone. After all, sincerity can be exchanged for sincerity. Although he is a person with a love brain, but he dares to give his heart, then he is more likely to gain true love than us. He was lucky and brave. I'm also brave. I bravely resisted the oppression of my patriarchal father, and walked out of the misery. But I was also unlucky. My mother, who I always thought I really loved, and supported my schooling, just to sell my daughter to get a higher bride price. After learning the truth, my faith collapsed, and I never dared to really trust anyone again. After Adelaide Violet and Howard Forster got married, the Queen Mother was very satisfied with the final payment and gave me an extra 1 million as a reward. I haven't seen the young master since. I occasionally inquire out of curiosity, and it is said that he has even the IQ to do business after curing his love brain. Came, and soon led the previous subsidiary to double the performance. Then followed the guidance of the Emperor Taishang and the Queen Mother, and took over the service family's industry step by step. He's doing a good job, and I know my son won't be a little waste, thanks to you helping him cure his love brain. As she spoke, the Queen Mother sent me another red envelope. It took 5 years for Ron Service to grow from a silly young master to a resolute and serious president, but this was nothing to him. After all, he had just graduated from college back then, less than 22. And now he was only 27. But I didn't hear his emotional gossip. I'm a little worried about whether I scolded hard before, so that this little boy, the president, broke off his love. But my mother is not in a hurry, and I don't need to rush to find a smoke. After separating from the young master, I used the power of the Queen Mother to set up my own company step by step, from a small clerk who only dares to scold the boss after drinking, to a big boss who only dares to scold when he is drunk. I'm also 33. When the couple came out of prison, I was already waiting at the door. When they saw me, they didn't recognize me. Mom and Dad, long time no see. The two of them were stunned for a moment, looking at me for a long time, before they spoke in disbelief. Sally Bobby. I put my index finger in front of my lips, and made a silent motion, and we both shut up. I'm not called Sally Bobby now. I'm Louise Bobby. You know, it's the kind of bird that is said to eat its parents. The two of them took a step back in fright. I squinted and smiled. What are you afraid of? My daughter is joking with you. I just took this word. Can I really eat you? You're my biological parents after all. The man asked me with little confidence. You still know that we are your parents, and you sent us to the police back then. I innocently said, I can't help it. You buy and sell women. You break the law. I have a high moral bottom line, and I can only kill my relatives in righteousness. The man wanted to get angry, and was dragged by the woman behind him. Women are much more sensible. He was so sensible that he stopped the man when he wanted to strangle me, and he was so sensible that he sent me to school despite his family's objections. I thought it was love. The result. It's just because college students can get a higher bride price. I hate women even more than this man who has been abusing me. The woman didn't have this self-awareness. She stopped the man behind and watched me play the emotional card. Sally Bobby, it was our fault to trick you into marrying Eve Violet, but we gave birth to you, raised you, and sent you to study, and you sent us to prison for 15 years, so the previous grudge can be considered a write-off. We are your parents. I didn't wait for her to finish when I interrupted with a smile. Yes, you're my parents, so I'm here to pick you up. The two of them were stunned and stepped back vigilantly. I showed them the car behind me and said, don't you want money? I'm making a lot of money now, and I still have a lot of them, and I've bought a lot of houses, so that even if I don't do anything for the rest of my life, I can live the rest of my life with good food and clothing. Their eyes moved slightly. Sally Bobby. I looked at them with a smile. Tears flashed in the woman's eyes and she said, you forgive us. I smiled widely. Of course, after all, you gave birth to me. The man was also a little surprised, and then moved. The woman stepped forward and cried, I'm sorry, good boy. My parents used to be obsessed. I'm sorry. I shook my head. It's okay. Haven't you been in jail for 15 years? The two were embarrassed. I patted my car. Remember how much Violet gave you back then? The two were silent. 300,000, I answered for them. All. Do you know how much this car costs? 570,000. The two were shocked. I laughed and said, it's just a pity. It won't be yours. The man clenched his fists. What the hell are you doing here? I looked at the man suspiciously. Isn't it obvious? The two looked at each other. Show off. I smirked and said, if I knew I could make so much money on my own, you wouldn't have to Violet, you wouldn't have to go to jail, and you would even enjoy the money. It's a pity that you don't have brains. It's all gone. Regret it. Sad. Is it painful? The man and woman on the other side were almost fainted, and I continued to exert my strength, showing off myself all the time and belittling the two. I just want to make the two of them regret it, and they want to die of regret. Finally, the man couldn't help himself, and made a move on me. I leaned my face over because I could get him in again, but I was stopped halfway through. 1. As soon as Ron Service grabbed the man's fist, his eyes were fierce, and he twisted hard, only to hear a click. The bones were misaligned, and the man screamed in pain. Ron Service ignored the man and turned to look at me. There are many ways to teach people, and you don't need to take a punch yourself. I pouted. Okay, I'll leave it to you. With that, I went to the car. Then seeing someone else coming in the rearview mirror, Ron Service left the man behind and walked over to the co-pilot. I started the car right away. Ron Service's face changed slightly, and his unhurried steps immediately became faster. And then when I silently counted to 2, he pulled the car door and sat in. Seeing that I had been waiting for him to move, his face changed slightly. Louise Bobby, are you interesting? I giggled, stepped on the gas, and threw the man and woman behind. Sister is in a good mood today. Take the little master for a ride. I took the young master on the mountain road 3 laps. We didn't say much during this time. We hadn't seen each other in 5 years, but we saw each other a lot through photos, interviews, videos. I know the reason why the Queen Mother has been helping me. In fact, it is mainly because of the little master, because I not only helped the little master cut off the love brain, but also made the little master follow the guidance of his parents and become a qualified heir to the Service family. That's why the Queen Mother is grateful to me, went out of their way to help me, because they have been inquiring about each other's news, and even sometimes secretly follow each other, how you are doing lately and whether you are doing well. You know better than the other party. After the drive, it was already late at night. I parked the car on the lawn at the top of the hill, and watched the stars with the little master, until the little master's phone rang a message tone. He glanced at it and said the first sentence in a long day. Please eat. I said oh and didn't ask any more questions. Got up and followed him to the car. This time it was him who drove. When he started the car, I slapped the door on the head. That's right. The little master turned his head to look at me. I bent down and searched for a while, and when the little master couldn't hold back his mouth to ask, I turned my head sharply with a small red velvet box. How? The little young master only said one word and was frozen. He stared blankly at the delicate diamond ring in front of him, unable to recover for a long time. Would you like to give you a chance to be with me? I asked him with a smile. His Adam's apple was rolling. His eyes were slightly red, and he looked like a bully. Sure enough, he is still the stupid little master. Seeing that he was silent, I continued to ask him, do you want to? He bit his lower lip and struggled for a moment, then turned his head and folded his arms and snorted. Why are you so shameless? Did I say I liked you? You propose. I leaned over to his shoulder, and asked playfully, don't you like me? I didn't like it for a long time. Then why do you still want to investigate my life experience, analyze my psychology, and then use the law family to help me step by step to get to where I am today, where I can be with you, in a dignified position today? I said, blowing in the young master's ear, happily watching the beautiful fair earlobes turn from pale pink to red. My mom won't say yes. Sheet. If your mother didn't agree, she would have found someone to fuck me a long time ago. And would she introduce me to contacts? The little master had nothing to say, so he simply ignored me. I continued to blow in his ear. His neck was red, but he still wouldn't answer. I simply let go of him and lay back in the passenger seat. If you don't want it, I won't want to eat for a while. The young master turned his head to look at me with a shocked face, pointed at me with a red face, and said, "You really know? You did it on purpose." I graciously admit it. The little young master was so aggrieved that his eyes were red, and he pointed at me for a while before scolding. "You like to play tricks on me." I laughed. "But I can't help it. You're a love brain. You know I'm bad, but you still can't forget it." Seeing that the little master was about to cry, I hurriedly got up and kissed him on the cheek as comfort. "Okay, my little master, I was wrong. Please just promise me, okay?" The little young master's face turned even redder, but he didn't speak, just pouted slightly. I smiled and dropped a kiss on his lips. He snorted. "That's pretty much it." As he spoke, he took out the ring from the box, and put it on his ring finger. I shook my head. "Hopeless love brain. What did you say?" "I said I love you the most." "Thank you, young master. I was unfortunate enough to meet my parents, who deceived me in the name of love and made me dare not love anymore. I was lucky to meet a sincere and fiery young master, who brought me to this position where I dared to love with confidence." The end.